Hello everyone. I hope that my voice is audible to all of you and the PPT in front of you is visible as well. All right. So in today's session, we are going to talk about the TISSNet, which is again, I think most of the students are very much concerned about the general knowledge section or the knowledge of world and logical thinking section of the TISSNet. As we all know that in TISSNet exam, GK plays the crucial role. General awareness plays a crucial role in scoring, definitely, or in the entire exam. And many a times we have seen ever since 2017, 18, and 19 and 20 exam pattern that every year TISSNET is asking the most challenging question and out of the box questions every year. So let me introduce myself. Hi, I am Nitika and I am the GK faculty in the Hit Bullseye Institute. And we are here today to tell you or to basically clear all your doubts on the preparations relating to the general awareness section of the TISSNET, right? So now let's start with how to pace up the TISSNET. See, one thing is whenever we prepare for any entrance exam, you need to understand what exam you are giving, what is the need of that exam, what exactly you need to prepare for that exam. Because most of the times I have seen that students start preparing for an entrance exam. They don't even know the syllabus of it. They don't even know, or they haven't even analyzed the previous year question papers. They don't know the demand of the question paper, or they are unable to analyze the type of questions which have been asked in the exam. TISSNET far and wide giving us mixed feelings or mixed emotions about the questions they have been asking ever since 2017. Like in 2020, I will be showing you few of the questions in a while that there will be sample questions I will show you about, and you will get to know that there are variety of areas that have been picked up by the TISS, right? Now starting up with the first, that is the exam. Absolutely. So we have in total 40 questions which will be asked from this section in TISSNET 2021, and this section has the highest weightage in the exam, that is again 40 marks. So we have 1 mark for each question, and there will be total 100 questions carrying each mark. Now the best part about this net exam is there will be no negative marking for any wrong or any unattempted question, right? Now, quickly starting with the quick tips for your exam. Now, if your exam is scheduled on 21st of January, so try to wind up your general awareness syllabus by 19th or 18th of January and keep 1 or 2 days for your revision only. Now, most of the students ask me that, ma'am, what do we need to revise? What do we revise? Because current affairs is a lot, right? And what do we revise? So the main things which you should revise on those 2 days are the policies, the recent international affairs, the recent person in news, people in news, the recent schemes. By recent I mean 1 month or 2 months, right? So these are the things which you must get clarity on the right a day before exam or 1 or 2 days before your exam, right? Also, do not try to check anything new in the last minute. This is, I think, this is the blunder which usually students make. Do not read anything new in your last minutes. Just go through with the revisions and go through with the topics which you have read already. Do not go for any new subject or any new topic. And even during the preparation, do not miss any day of the schedule. That is very important, because time management is the key to crack any entrance exam, especially when we talk about the entrance exams wherein GK is required, right? always make a note that every day 1 hour you have to read GK, right? Just make it your habit, like you eat thrice a day or 4 times a day. The same way, make a habit that 1 hour a day for GK is compulsory. Now, apart from 1 hour, you can read up to n number of hours. That is totally up to you, right? Also, see, for any entrance exam, try to make the mind maps now, because I know that students, especially the testnet students, you don't have enough time to prepare the mind maps and diagrams. But still, if there are few topics which are of great relevance, or which are of prime relevance for the testnet, at least for that, make the mind maps, right? Because through diagrams, through notes, and through pictures, it's very easy to revise your topics, right? The next, newspapers are highly recommended for the TISSNET exams. TISSNET is such an exam wherein the social affairs, the again, the social issues, the awards, the polity section, the history section, the sports, the appointments, the resignations. TISSNET is going to ask you 40 questions, and it is going to cover everything. Everything. By everything, I mean everything, right? So everything means it is going to cover the static part as well as the current affairs. Now, after this, I'll just quickly give you a review of the subjects which you must read for your TISSNET exams, definitely. So before that, reading newspaper is highly recommended, and the preferred newspapers currently are the Hindu, the Indian Express, and the Economic Times. Now, students ask us that, ma'am, can we go for the Tribune, the Times of India, the Hindustan Times? Again, that is totally up to you. But I always recommend to read such newspaper which are qualitative and which have good content and maximum coverage, right? Which definitely the Hindu, the Indian Express, and the Economic Times, it provides you with the most of it, right? That is very important. Okay. Now, the next question, which usually I come across with from the students, is what type of headlines? Okay, because now we have couple of students here. We have Shreya, Sani, Jaya, Arindam, Ankit, and we have Aditya, Kanksha. Welcome all of you in this session. So, and there are other YouTube users as well who have just joined the session. So, let me ask you this question: how do you read the newspaper? All right, let us know, how do you read a newspaper? What comes in your mind when you start, or when you pick up the newspaper, or you don't even read the newspaper? It can be that ways. It's okay. You can be honest at least here. Yes. How do you read the newspaper? Do you even read the newspaper, or you don't? I hope I am audible to all of you, right? Yes. Okay. So Arindam has mentioned that he leaves the politics. Okay. All right. Other than that, see, I'm asking about, how do you read a newspaper? What is your technique of reading a newspaper? Now you will say that, ma'am, is there even a technique to read a newspaper? There isn't, right? Well, let me tell you, there is a technique of reading a newspaper. Always start reading the newspaper with a stopwatch, and fix the time of 45 minutes. You should read a newspaper in a day within the 45 minutes. So, firstly, what you need to do is scrutinize your newspaper and mark the headlines which are important or which are relevant from your exam point of view, right? And then start reading your newspaper. That is the most best way, or the best technique to read your newspaper, right? Then next, read only exam relevant articles, and the editorials are again very important, because sometimes editorials consists of some facts and figures which may be important from your exam point of view. Also, one thing is, your goal is to clear a competitive exam, and you may get tempted to read your favorite topics and persons featured in the newspaper. Okay, Deepika Padukone, what is she wearing? Ranveer Singh, where is he going for the vacations? And Sachin Tendulkar doing what? Mahi doing what? And Virat Kohli doing what? See, for good about 2 3 months, just leave all these jiffy talks and focus on your important headlines and relevant headlines which may have been asked in your entrance exam. So you're reading a newspaper with the aim to clear your entrance exam. So think of a newspaper as a syllabus book wherein you're just focusing on the content which is relevant for your entrance exam and leave the other things. That is very, very important, right? Besides, it's very important from the newspaper to make notes of it. This is going again. I think many students are right here who are thinking that this is not the end and you're going to give and many entrance exams in the future. Like some of you will be giving for banking, for the health management. Some of you will be preparing for the government exams, for UPSC, for HCS, for the SSC, for bank again. So yes, entrance exams, be it whatever level it is, for the jobs, for the college admissions, university admissions, for the masters, graduation, the reading of a newspaper will be fruitful only if you are able to retain what you're reading in that. It takes averagely 7 to 8 years or even more than that to make a habit that whatever you're reading, you're retaining it in the mind for a very long period of time. Because let's just say we're talking about TISSNET exam, and TISSNET averagely asks current affairs from the 6 months to 1 year. Now, if I talk about the entrance exam, which is scheduled on 21st January, and it is asking a question which came from the news headlines of August 2020. So definitely it is very difficult for you to retain that, right? So first thing is you need to make crisp notes, which means that read the newspaper and make the bullet points out of it, right? You don't again have to go in depth, or in most of the cases do not go in deeply into the concept. Just stay on the surface, do not go very deep into that. And also try to classify when you read into the categories like geography, polity, economy, environment. So this is going to give you a brief picture that you're able to cover all the areas through the newspaper. That is very important again, right? Now after this, all right, any doubt till here, students? Any doubt till here? You can be responsive. You can ask me questions if you have anything relating to the current affairs or relating to the reading of newspapers or anything, if you have, right? So the next is, again, do not focus on the nitty gritty of the share markets. Leave the political news like X person moving to the other party and all the press conferences by the political parties. You can just skip that, right? Also, I have already mentioned, do not focus on the entertainment news, sports news, unless it is national or international event, and states news unless it has a very large implications. And also, you can avoid all those masala items, right? Now, coming to the most important part, that is the subject revisions which are required for the TISSNET. On the basis of 2017, 18, and 19, I came up with the conclusion that TISSNET maximum, what you need to read from the static subjects are the history, polity, and economy. They are the highly prioritized static subjects which you need to read in these 2 months. And the fourth and the most important one is the international relations, which is called as IR, or even you may find in our GK website as the post independent issues, right? Now, in the history part, the most important one is the modern history and the medieval history. Ancient, you can still think of skipping because, again, ancient is now in these 2 3 years, there is no question asked from the ancient history. So you can first go for medieval and modern, and then if you have time, then you can jump to the ancient history. But in ancient history, we have an Indus Valley civilization, which is the first civilization of our country. So that is again important. So I will recommend you to go through the entire history part. But if you still have to read some part of it, start first with the modern history and then medieval, then ancient history. Then second, polity. It is very, very important to go through the polity, right? For reading polity, again, polity and modern history are far and wide, complementary to each other, or you can say that our modern history is the predecessor of the contemporary polity, right? Because most of the acts have been started in the modern history, and then we laid on in the after the independence, right? The next, the concepts of economy. Again, TISSNet has been very particular about asking you the concepts of economy, and every year we have 2 3 questions from the economy side as well. So students, please be picky about economy. If some of you have not read it till now, please read or please watch the basic videos which are available on our gk.hitbullseye. They will definitely help you in at least covering your terminologies and the basic concepts, so that it will be beneficial for you to read it in the newspaper. Like for example, I have many students who are again giving the TISSNet and even the TISSMAT. So suppose there is a term that is hegemony, and hegemony or the social economy or the socialist market economy, so such type of terms are used in the newspaper. So now they skip that. But when I ask them what is the meaning of it, they're unable to answer it. See, understand this. Not just a written exam, you have to go through with the GDs and PIs as well. So do not just cover or do not just fill your mind with only entrance exam. Be very precise about your preparations, especially relating to the GK, because it is going to give you benefits for a very long period of time. Even for the GDPIs, this particular subject is going to be fruitful, because in GDPI they're not going to ask you about the verbal or the quant section or for the DI section, right? This subject is the only one which is going to give you the dream seat which you have actually aspired, or the dream university or the dream college which you have always aspired. So do not take this subject lightly, right? So after this we have post independent issues, which again starts from after 1947. It is the contemporary history, you can call it. And it is related to the India's relations with the outside countries, international relations, India's relations with the neighboring countries, major events since 1947 in India as well as in the world. So that is the post-independent issue, which is again very important. So these are the subject revision which you need to brush up before going for your TISSNet exams. Yes, students, do you have any doubt till here? Any doubt till here? All right. So now let's just start with few important current affairs for the previous 3 months, which I have picked up for the students, and I have tried to cover different areas and different subjects, and so that you just get an idea of what to cover for the TISSNet exam, right? And then after that, we will start with the sample questions which have been asked in 2020 TISSNet, right? So the first topic is Armenian Azerbaijan, which recently was in news because of its conflict, right? So recently, the territorial disputes between the Azerbaijan and Armenia over the Nagorno-Karabakh region. This is the region which is the disputed one, right? Nagorno-Karabakh region. So has again been re-erupted with the heavy clashes. So the Armenian Azerbaijan, they are the part of South Caucasus Mountains, which is a geographical region in the vicinity of Southern Caucasus Mountains on the borders of Western Asia and Eastern Europe. So this entire region consists of countries like Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. The reason for the dispute is the territorial dispute. So this Nagorno-Karabakh region has 95% of the population who are as ethnically they are Armenian, and they are controlled by the Armenian persons, right? But this entire region is under the Azerbaijan. Armenians, they have a Christian majority, but the Azerbaijanis, they have the Muslim majority. So this is again the one reason of the clash, that this region is entirely it is inhabited by the Christian majority, but this area is under the Muslim majority state, right? So the leaders of both the countries have fueled this issue many a times for their own political interest. Now, hitting back to the history, we start from 1920, when the Nagorno-Karabakh autonomous region, it was established within the Azerbaijan by the then Soviet Union. Then This issue moved further in 1988 when the Nagorno-Karabakh legislature passed a resolution to join Armenia despite the region's legal location in the Azerbaijan. So the both the countries have been fighting for their sovereignty on this region. Then further in 1991, the autonomous region officially declared that it would neither join Armenia nor it would join Azerbaijan. But this resolution was boycotted by Azerbaijan, and both the countries were involved in war, wherein roughly thousands of the casualties and the hundreds of people were left refugees. Right. Then in 1994, Russia came and Russia mediated a ceasefire, which has remained in place since. Then in 2016, the region was particularly tense because of the violent fighting between the two countries again. And now, recently in 2020, again, the war erupted in this region because of the territorial sovereignty of the Nagorno Karabakh region. So, this entire conflict has impacted the civilian casualties. Also, it had destabilized the region, and the economic impact is far and wide being affected in the Armenian and the Azerbaijanis GDP. Also, because Russia has closer ties with Armenia, while the Turkey and USA support Azerbaijan, and Iran has a large Azeri minority, which would escalate the crisis and entangle the actors involved. Because these two countries are not just fighting by their own, the other countries are also supported in the back end, that this region belongs to you, and you can call it that enemy's enemy's friend. So they are supporting each other just for the sake of taking their own enmity out, right? However, if we see the impact on India, the this Armenian Azerbaijanis conflict or this conflict's impact on India, India and Armenia in recent years, they had established a great bilateral cooperation. The then Vice President of India also visited Armenia in 2017, and Armenia also bought the Swati military radar system from India in March 2020. Many Indian students are currently studying in Armenian medical universities, and in recent years, Armenia had also witnessed an increasing flow of the Indian labor migrants, right? On the other hand, talking about India, Azerbaijan, India is a part of international north-south transport corridor, which is INSTC, INSTC, that is International North-South Transport Corridor, that is a multi-modal network of ship, rail, and road route for moving the freight between India, Iran, Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Russia, China, and the Central Asia with the Europe. So Azerbaijan is the dialogue partner of Shanghai Cooperation Organization also, in which India is the member of. In 2018, the then External Minister of India also visited Azerbaijan, which was the first ever bilateral meet between India and Azerbaijan. So India's ONGC Videsh, it is an investor to Azeri, Chirag, Gunashli oil fields and the Baku Tbilisi Seyfan pipeline. So here we can see that India and Azerbaijan, although we have a diplomatic relations and we have some bilateral trade relations too, however, we cannot skip this part that Azerbaijan always supports Pakistan's position on the Kashmir issue. Kashmir issue came into notice in 2019 due to the abrogation of Article 370, and then also Azerbaijan supported Pakistan that the abrogation of 370 is not just the internal matter of India, and that even the Pakistan need to be involved in that, right? So India has supported Armenia while Azerbaijan has been supported by Pakistan, and Pakistan was the second country to recognize the Azerbaijan's independence after Turkey. So also Pakistan is the only country that does not recognize Armenia as an independent state and fully support the Azerbaijan's position. On this, China has grown increasingly active in the Caucasian region, and now conducting a number of programs and signing economic, political, and military agreements with Armenia. Armenia has also agreed to participate in the Chinese Belt and Road project, which again I am very sure that you have read about. One Belt, One Road Initiative, OBOR, or it is also called as BRI, Belt Road Initiative. However, China is an ally to its rival Azerbaijan. So Armenia is currently skeptical in supporting or in increasing the friendly arms towards China, friendly hands towards China, because Armenia knows that China is in friendship with Azerbaijan, who is the enemy to the Armenia. So this conflict between the two countries has recently been brokered, or recently Russia had brokered the peace deal between the two countries. So both the countries, as we all know, that have been in military conflict, and again Russia came into the support, and they came out as as a broker to settle down a peace deal between both the countries. So both the sides will now maintain positions in the areas that they currently hold, which will mean that a significant gain for Azerbaijan, as it has claimed over 15 to 20% of its lost territory during the recent conflict. So all the military operations are suspended, and the Russian peacekeepers will be deployed for the period of 5 years along the line of contact in the Nagorno-Karabakh region and along the Lachin corridor, right? So a new corridor will be opened soon from the Nakshin to the Azerbaijan, which will be under the Russian control. So, however, after the Russians' interference in this conflict, Armenian people are against the deal and have also protested, while Azerbaijan is quite pleased with the deal and considered it as the as a deal of historic importance. So Russia have always tried to balance the position on the matter and has traditionally had a good relations with both the countries. So it supplies arms to both the countries, and Russia has even the military base camps in the Armenia, and both are the members of the Moscow-led Collective Security Treaty Organization, which stands for CSTO. So this treaty envisages the Russia's military support if Armenia is attacked. However, it does not include Nagorno-Karabakh region or the other Azerbaijani regions around it seized by the Armenian forces. At the same time, Russia also has strong ties with the Azerbaijan, which is openly backed by the Turkey, a non, sorry, a NATO, which is openly backed by the Turkey, a NATO member, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, right? So that was a brief about Armenian Azerbaijan issue. Yes, students, any doubt on this one? So here from here you can make it that the news and the static part of it are again important, right? Then the next one is, so this is again a social issue, the Global Wage Report 2020, which is recently introduced by the International Labour Organization, right? So recently released a report which is given by the International Labour Organization had revealed quite shocking facts of the wage impact due to COVID-19 pandemic. So this report includes a number of policy recommendations also to mitigate the negative impact of the crisis. In the previous 4 years preceding the COVID-19 pandemic, the global wage growth fluctuated between 1.6% and the 2.2% when China is excluded from the sample. Real wage growth in those 4 years fluctuated at a lower level between 0.9 and 1.6%. However, in the advanced G20 economies, the real wage growth fluctuated between 0.4 and 0.9%, while in emerging G20 economies, it was rising more rapidly between 3.5 and 4.5%. Yes, students, with this, may I ask you a question? What is G20? Anyone? What is G20? Yes, anyone? What is G20? You might have heard of this name many a times. What is G20? Yes, anyone? What is G20? We are just reading it right now. What is G20? So G20 is nothing but an international organization. It is an intergovernmental organization, an informal group of 19 member countries and European Union with the representatives of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. The G20 membership comprises a mixture of the world's largest advanced and emerging economies representing about two-thirds of the world's population. 85% of the world's GDP, 80% of the global investments, and over 75% of the global trade. Now, talking about its origination, so it originated amidst the Asian financial crisis of 1977, 1997, 1999. So this was a ministerial level forum which emerged after G7 invited both developed and developing economies. The finance ministers and the central bank governors began meeting in 1999. Then further, after 2008 financial crisis, the world saw the need for a new consensus building at the highest political level, and it was decided that the G20 leaders would begin meeting once annually. So, to help prepare these summits, the G20 finance ministers and the central bank governors continue to meet on their own twice a year. They meet at the same time as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. So, definitely G20 is for the economic cooperation and to stabilize the economies or for the stability of economies, for the stability of investments worldwide. The members of G20 are Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Republic of Korea, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, UK, USA, and European Union. Spain, as a permanent non-member invitee, also attends the Leaders Summit, right? So that was a brief about your G20, right? So besides this, in the first half of 2020, as a result of COVID-19 crisis, a downward trend on the wage rate was seen, which was observed in two-thirds of the countries for which the recent data are also available. And in the other countries, the average wages increased. However, they increased artificially as the reflection of the substantial job losses among the low paid workers. So, in times of crisis, the average wages can be significantly skewed by the sharp changes in the composition of the employment. So, the women and the low paid workers have disproportionately borne the brunt of the decrease in wages due to the COVID-19 crisis as their working hours were reduced, according to this report. The global wage growth fluctuated between 1.6% and 2.2% in the 4 years preceding the pandemic, that is between 2016 and 2019, right? So, all right, I can ask you this question right now. So, we have a few students here. What is ILO? What is the main objective of International Labour Organization? Or let's make it more subjective. What do you think is the impact of pandemic and the lockdowns on the women workforce? I think this you may be able to answer. What is the impact of the pandemic on the women workforce? What do you think? Yes, Arindam, Shantanu. Yes. All right. Yes, absolutely. So the impact on the women workforce was, quite depressing, and the average wages. Absolutely, Arindam. The work pressure internally, yes. So, yes, absolutely. So, women were under the pressure as they were work from home was there. Plus, they were doing all the home course. So, it was quite difficult for them to manage both at the same time. Yes, the work pressure was more. Plus, they were not given full salary, they were not being paid fully. So, the financial burdens were also there. So, according to this report, the impact of the crisis had been different for women and women. The report estimated that the women workers in the selection of European countries would have faced 8.1% reduction in the wages between the first and the second quarters, as compared to 5.4% for men without payment of wages subsidies, right? So such a discrepancy was mainly caused by the reduced working hours more than by the difference in the number of layoffs. So the wage bill lost as a result of the drop in the work hours was 6.9% for females, as compared to only 4.7% for the males. So even we have seen discrimination in the wage cuts between the males and the females, right? On the other hand, if I talk about the impact on the informal workers, the report mentioned that the informal workers in India suffered a 22.6% fall in wages, even as the formal sector employees had their salaries cut by only 3.6% on the average. So even this figure shows that there's a wide gap in the wage discrepancies or the wage cuts between formal and the informal sector, right? So this was a brief about your global wage bill. So after this, we have Swamitva scheme. Have you heard of this scheme, students? आप लोगों ने स्कीम के बारे में सुना है? स्वामित्व स्कीम. All right. So yes, the survey of villages and mapping with the improvised technology in the village areas. So this scheme was recently launched by the Prime Minister on the occasion of National Panchayati Raj. So it is a central sponsored scheme with the aim to provide the integrated property validation solution for the rural India, to engage the latest drone technology to demarcate the inhabited land in the rural India. So this is a collaborative effort of Ministry of Panchayati Raj, State Panchayati Raj departments, state revenues or the land record departments, and the Survey of the India. So talking about the Survey of India, it is the national survey and mapping organization of the country, working under the Department of Science and Technology, which was set up in the year 1767, and it is one of the oldest scientific department under the government of India, right? Now, some of the benefits or some of the key points of this scheme says that all the Abadi areas or the rural inhabited areas would be mapped through the Survey of India using the drone survey to generate the high resolution and the accurate maps, to based on which the property cards would be issued to the rural India, right? So that is actually your Swamitva scheme. Then after this, we have the blue flag certification. So recently, the Kasarkod and the Padubidri beaches have recently received the blue flag certification. So from the international agency FEE, which stands for Foundation for Environment Education, which is based in Denmark. So earlier in 2019, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change had identified 13 beaches across the country for the blue flag certification and announced a list of activities that will be permissible in the respective coastal regulation zones for that purpose. And till now, 8 of them have been accorded the blue flag, and they are Ghogna Beach of Diu, the Shivrajpur Beach of Gujarat, the Padubidri and the Kasarkod of Karnataka, the Kapad Beach of Kerala, Eden Beach of Puducherry, the Rushikonda Beach of Andhra Pradesh, the Golden Beach of Odisha, and Radhanagar Beach of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now, talking about this blue flag certification, it is a certification that can be obtained by a beach, marine, or the sustainable boating tourism operator and serves as an eco label. So, the certification is awarded annually by the Denmark based organization FEE. It sets the stringent environmental, educational, safety related, and access related criteria that applications must meet and maintain. So this blue flag is an ecotourism model to provide tourists clean and hygienic bathing water, facilities, amenities, safe and healthy environment, and sustainable development for the area. So the certification is awarded by FEE on 33 stringent criteria which are broadly categorized in the four areas. And the four areas are environment education and information, bathing water quality, the environment management and conservation, and lastly, safety and services in the beaches, right? Then after this, so then this one is from the ancient history. Like I had mentioned, the Indus Valley civilization is very important, and this one forms the part of art and culture because any kind of excavations and even the discovery of fossils forms the part of art and culture. So the year 2020 marks the 100 years of discovery of Indus Valley civilization, which is also known as the Harappan civilization. So it was Dayaram Sahani and R.D. Banerjee who excavated or who first found the Harappan site near the Ravi River in Pakistan, and that is why the civilization is also called as Harappan civilization. Because this entire civilization was based around the river Indus, that is why we call it Indus Valley civilization, right? So it was found near to 1920, 1921. And after Harappa, we had the major site that is Mohenjo-daro, which is again called as the, one of the important site of Indus Valley civilization, right? Arindam, from the ancient Indus Valley and the Vedic era. Vedic era is also important. The era from where we derived our four Vedas. That is also very important. Because once you move ahead, move further, the kingdomship period or the kingdom period starts, right? Like from the Indus Valley to the Vedic era, you jump to Vedic era. Vedic era, you start with the kingdom or the dynasty period. You get an idea, or the first dynasty, the Haryanka dynasty will be read, and then from Haryanka you will go to the Nandas to the Mauryans to the Guptas, then further you will move towards the medieval history, right? So yes, these dynasties again quickly आपको टिप्स पे होनी चाहिए कि ये dynasties आपको पढ़नी है, तो बी वेरी प्रिसाइज, आपको बहुत डीपली नहीं जाना, आपको कुछ प्रिसाइजली कुछ ऐसी ऐसी चीजें आपको रीड आउट करनी है जो अगेन आपके एग्जाम के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. अदरवाइज हिस्ट्री इज वेरी डीप, इट्स ह्यूज, राइट? आप हर चीज नहीं पढ़ सकते, स्पेशली टिसनेट स्टूडेंट्स, आपको हर चीज पढ़ने की जरूरत भी नहीं है. रीड ओनली दोज विच हैव बीन, आप एक एनालाइज करो लास्ट 3 इयर्स में किस तरह के क्वेश्चंस पूछे गए हैं. मैं उसी बेसिस पे आपको कह रही हूँ, क्योंकि अब मैं आपको ये न्यूज क्यों बता रही हूँ, बिकॉज इट वाज इन न्यूज, इट वाज इन द करंट अफेयर्स that the dairy production in the Indus Valley site have been found. So now you need to read what is Indus Valley civilization. Had it not been in the news, you don't need to read it, right? It's like that, Arindam, right? So Indus Valley, it is one of the four earliest civilizations of the world, along with the Mesopotamians, Egyptians, and the Chinese civilization. It was a cultural and the political entity which flourished in the northern part of the Indian subcontinent, somewhere around the 7000 BC to 600 BC, right? Dayaram Sahni was the one who first discovered its location, and its modern name derives from its location in the valley of the Indus, right? And according to the recent studies, the shifting monsoon patterns linked to the climate change likely caused the rise and fall of the Indus Valley civilization. Bhirana, Haryana is now considered the oldest discovered IVC site, dating back to 7500 BCE, and which was previously Mehergarh of Pakistan. It was considered as the oldest site, right? So some of the DNA samples of the skeletons remains excavated from the Rakhigadi site has claimed that the inhabitants of IVC were a distinct indigenous people and challenges the theory of Aryan invasion ending the Harappan culture. Previously, it was derived that Aryan's invasion in our country or Aryan's war with the IVC people had actually led to the decline of IVC. But some of the DNA samples of skeletons had made out that it was because of nature's fury, the natural calamities, the floods, the earthquakes, which had caused the decline of this civilization. and not the Aryans' invasion, right? So the earliest evidence of industrial level of dairy production were based on the analysis of absorbed lipid residues in the unglazed ceramic vessels have been found. Also, the preservation of milk through the fermentation and other techniques were also found. And they studied the tooth enamel from the fossils of cattle, water buffaloes, goat, and sheep found in the area. The cows and the water buffaloes were found to consume millets, while sheep and goats ate nearby grass and the leaves. The large herd indicates that the milk was produced in the surplus so that it could be exchanged and there could have been some kind of trade between the settlements. Because at that time, definitely there was a barter system of exchange. There were no currency found. However, there were some seals and stellites, but there were no currency found at that time. So yes, there was a hugely barter system of exchange, and milk was found to be one of the items through which they were trading with each other, right? So the next one we have is, so the global estimates were studied and reported by the Walk Free and two UN agencies, the International Labour Organization and the International Organization for the Migration. So here we are talking about the modern slavery. Yes, what do we mean by modern slavery? Anyone? Modern slavery refers to a situation, or it refers to a situation of exploitation that a person cannot refuse or leave because of threats, violence, corruption, even the abuse of power. The modern slavery has taken many forms currently, such as we have human trafficking, forced labor, debt labor or the bonded labor, and the descent-based slavery, the slavery of children, and the forced and early marriages. So, according to this report, the global estimate studied, it shows that the women and girl accounts for nearly three-quarters of all the victims of the modern slavery. The female outnumber the males as the victims of modern slavery in four of the five world regions, and they account for 73% of victims in Asia and Pacific, 71% in Africa, 67% in Europe and Central Asia, and 63% in Americas. So this report highlighted that the 99% of the victims of the forced sexual exploitation are females. Additionally, 84% of all the victims are of forced marriage, and 58% of all victims of the forced labor are also females, right? So here, we can see that females and girls, women and girls are more at the risk, because females are underrepresented at all the levels of political leadership, and even there are gender based violence and gender based discrimination in almost all the countries in the world, right? Besides this, next is the elderly population in India. So, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare launched the Decade of Healthy Aging on the International Day of Older Persons, that is on the 1st of October. According to the population census, there are nearly 104 million elderly persons in India, 53 million females, and 51 million males. A report released by United Nations Population Fund and HelpAge India suggests that the number of elderly persons is expected to grow to 173 million by 2026. 71% of elderly population resides in rural India, while 29% is in the urban areas. So this state-wise data on the elderly population divulge that the Kerala has maximum proportion of elder people in its population, followed by Goa and Tamil Nadu, as per the population census of 2011. There are several initiatives taken by the government for the elderly population. For example, we have integrated program for older persons, national program for health care of the elderly persons, Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act, Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, which is IGNOAPS, then Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Vay Vandana Yojana. So all these schemes are there for the welfare and the social security for the elderly population, right? Then after this, next is the Global Hunger Index. I am very sure that you have read this report. So global hunger index, in this index, India ranked 94 out of 107 countries. So this is a tool which is designed comprehensively to measure and to track the hunger at the global, regional, and the national level. This is published by Concern Worldwide and the World Hunger Hills organization. So GHI scores are based on four important components, and the four important components are child wasting, child stunting, child mortality, and undernourishment, right? So nearly 690 million people are undernourished, out of which 144 million children suffer from stunting, 47 million children suffering from wasting, 5.3 million died before their fifth birthday, which is child mortality as a result of undernutrition. Now, the South Saharan African and the South Asians have the highest hunger report and are undernutrition levels among the world regions, with 2020 GHI scores of 27.8 and 26. The GHI score is determined on the scale of 100. 0 is the best possible score, which means no hunger. And as you go towards 100, it is worse. So each country's score is classified by severity from the low to the extremely alarming, right? So the world is definitely not on track to achieve the second sustainable development goal, that is zero hunger by 2030. And at the current pace, approximately 37 countries will even fail to reach the low hunger by the year 2030. Now, talking about India, out of the total 107 countries, India's ranking is 94. Even India is only 13 countries far worse than the India, or if we see from the bottom, so India is among the top 15 bottom countries in the world. The countries like Nepal, Bangladesh, Indonesia are ahead of India, right? So in terms of overall nourishment, only 14% of India's population does not get enough calories. Almost 35% of Indian children are stunted, 17% of children are wasted, and under 5 mortality is nearly 3.7%, right? So food security, poor sanitation, inadequate housing, and limited access to healthcare are all result in the maternal distress, which leads to the kind of slow chronic wasting seen in the children. So India currently has around 70 million tons of the food stock in the central pool stored at the Food Corporation of India's warehouses, which is very much enough to ensure no one stays hungry. But because of lack of proper implementation of public distribution system, the child or the poor or the poor people of our country are still unable to avail the benefit out of it. However, the National Food Security Act 2013 is in place to ensure the food security for the most vulnerable communities. But the ration distribution through the fair price shops, midday meal programs at the schools, nutrition, maternity levels, all these, they fall within the act, but they are still unable to eradicate the hunger from our country, right? So definitely we are trying, or the government has taken several initiatives further to take on the step, or to basically go further or go beyond their initiatives to eradicate the hunger from our country, right? So after this we have the World's Women 2020, which is the Trends and Statistics report. So recently, the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs released a report titled World's Women 2020 Trends and Statistics report. So this report provided a reality check on the global status of the women 25 years since the adoption of Beijing Declaration and the platform for action, which was for advancing the women's rights. So it presented the progress report for the gender equality in the six critical areas of population and families, health, education, economic empowerment and asset ownership, power and decision making, and lastly, violence against women and the girl child. Now, the key findings of the report says that COVID-19 is affecting men and women in the different ways. Women face additional challenges relating to the disease compared to men. Also, women's representation in the parliament has more than doubled globally, but it is still 25% in 2020. Globally, women held only 28% of the managerial positions in 2019, almost the same proportion as in 1995, right? Women continue to be underrepresented among the graduates in the fields of science and tech and mathematics. And worldwide, on average, 90% of men are literate compared to about 80% of the females, with the gender gaps reported in many countries. As on 2020, less than 50% of females of the working age participated in the labor market compared to around 75% of males, resulting in the gender gap of 27% according to the reports. Also, the violence against women and girl child remains the global issue. The marital rape, sexual harassments, and laws to address these issues are not yet universally available, right? Then after that, so this was the report which was recently given by the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Now let's just start with the sample questions which have been asked in 2020 testnet, and I expect you to answer these questions. The Hindi film Margarita with the Straw, inspired by the real life story of Malini, was directed by whom? Yes, anyone? Yes, who can answer this question? So Margarita with a Straw, it is a 2014 Indian Hindi language movie. It was directed by the Shonali Bose, directed by Shonali Bose. So it was an Indian teenager with a cerebral palsy who relocates to America for her undergraduate education and comes of the age following her complex relationship with a blind girl. So that was the Margarita with a Straw. Again, critique movie, and a socially different movie and different concept, right? Then the next question. So this organization is founded in the year 1995 and used the success of GATT established in 1947. This is again very simple one. That is the World Trade Organization. It is the successor of the GATT, which stands for General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. This was an easier one, right? Then the next one we have is, who among these is the youngest prime minister of any country? So recently, it was in news last year, 2019, that Sana Marin, she was the youngest prime minister. Okay, who is Sana Marin? Anyone? Of which country she was the prime minister? She was a Finnish prime minister. She was the prime minister of Finland. She is the prime minister of Finland, right? So after this, the world's largest multi-purpose underground pumping station, that is Kaleshwaram irrigation project, is located in which state? Yes, Kaleshwaram. In which state? The Kaleshwaram project is located in the Telangana state. Again, it was in news. Very good, Arindam. Yes, it is located in the Telangana state. Yes, again it was in news. Pretty much, right? In India, the union territories with legislature are, yes, which ones? The UTs with legislature, which means the UTs which may have the chief ministers. The answer is C. So recently, Jammu and Kashmir was also made UT with legislature. Puducherry and New Delhi were already there with legislature, right? So that is all for today, students, and I hope that you liked my session. And we, as an organization, we are here we are working in this field for over 2 decades. And with this TISSNet crash course, this was just a demo, or this was just a kind of a trailer of what we are going to teach you in the class, right? So this is how we are going to prepare for the testnet crash course, wherein we will be giving you the 10 live lectures starting from the January 2021. Testnet and testmat mocks will be given to you. You will be given the access to the database. The Telegram discussion group will be there, and there will be 50 plus recorded video shortcuts. So this crash course is available to you only at the price of 3,999, and you can just click on this link to just have a look at our website, and what resources we will be providing to you. Again, students, picking up a coaching institute is very important, especially when you know that there are a lot of competitors, there are a lot of coaching centers in the market. You need to understand which one to choose, the ones who are reliable, giving you a content, giving you a qualitative content, and who are available to you as and when you're required. Custom based coachings are always best, so we as a team, we provide you a structure like that only. If you have any doubt, you can reach us through Telegram discussion groups, wherein you can just directly post your queries and we are there to answer you, right? Besides, we are giving you the basic video lectures, the current affairs videos, the weekly issues, the fortnight snippets, the assignments, the online tests are also there. And parallel to this, we are giving you static ebooks. So we have total 8 9 static books which are available in our GK website. So please, if you get time, kindly visit the gk.hitbullseye.com so that you get an idea of what all content we are providing you with the help of that website, right? So that is all for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for your cooperation and for attending it so well. You've been a wonderful audience. And if ever you have any question, you can always find us at help@hitbullseye.com. So this is Nitika signing off from the session. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and good night.